Everyone. Speaking on behalf of Devyani International Limited, I'm Lalit Jaising from Concept PR and your moderator for this virtual brokers and analyst event. I would request, uh, I would take this opportunity to thank you for taking out your time from your busy schedules to join us. We appreciate your presence and extend a very warm welcome to all of you. The objective of today's live session is to understand Devyani International's interest in raising finance for an initial public offering and what they do as a business organization. Under a normal circumstance, this would have been an on-ground event, but we all are increasingly getting accustomed to this as a safer and more convenient format of attending and conducting the roadshow. We hope you gather the same or a better experience from your comfort of your home and office. Before I review the functionality of the webinar, I would like to bring to light that Devyani International is the largest franchisee of Yum Brands in India and the largest operators of chain quick service restaurants in the country on a non-exclusive basis. Their business is broadly classified into three verticals, including stores of KFC, Pizza Hut, and Costa Coffee being operated in India. As on June 2021, it operates 696 stores across 166 cities in India. Moving ahead, you'll be kept on mute throughout the event, and all questions will be answered via the Q&A chat box only, where you can type in your question in session or at the end of the webinar. Would request all participants to please limit yourself to 3 questions if possible and use a lowercase font when typing the question. If we miss answering any of your questions, don't worry. You can email us at ipoteam@conceptpeer.com and we will try to be swift in responding back to you. Going forward, it's a great pleasure to introduce our speakers today. From the company, we have Mr. Raj Gandhi, Non-Executive Director, Mr. Virag Joshi, Whole-Time Director, President, CEO, Mr. Manish Dawar, Whole-Time Director and Chief Financial Officer. The representation from the book running lead managers are Mr. Viren Jairath, Director, Kotak Mahindra Capital Company Limited, Mr. Pankaj Agrawal, Managing Director, Head of India Corporate Finance and Capital Markets, CLSA India Private Limited, Mr. Satyan Shah, MD and Head Investment Banking, Edelweiss Financial Services Limited, and Mr. Abhijit Tare, MD and CEO, Investment Banking, Motilal Oswal Investment Advisors Limited. On behalf of the company and lead managers to the issue, let me thank all participants for being a part of this session. I now invite Mr. Pankaj Agrawal from CLSA to deliver the opening remark and commence this brokers and analysts meet. Over to you, Mr. Agrawal.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So on behalf of the management of Devyani International Limited and the book running lead managers, it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the landmark occasion of the IPO launch of the company, largest franchisee of Yum Brands in India and amongst the largest operators of chain QSR in India. A quick introduction of the management team of the company. We have Mr. Rajpal Gandhi, director of the company, and I'm sure also very well known to you. He has over 28 years of experience with the group and with Varun Beverages and has been instrumental in strategizing the diversification, expansion, M&As, and institutional relationship of the group. We have Mr. Virag Joshi, who is the whole-time director and president and CEO of the company. He has been a key strategist in expansion of Pizza Hut, KFC, Costa Coffee outlets from a small base of 5 restaurants in 2002 to 600 plus outlets in the last 19 years. He holds a diploma course in hotel management and catering from the State Institute of Hotel Management and Catering, Lucknow. We have Mr. Manish Dawar, who is the whole-time director and chief financial officer of the company. He has wide experience in various industry domains and across geographies in the world. He's a chartered accountant by profession and a member of the Company Secretaries of India. Devyani International is the largest franchisee of Yum Brands in India. Company is promoted by Mr. Ravikant Jaipuria, a very well-known entrepreneur in multiple businesses, including food, beverages, and dairy in South Asia and Africa. Mr. Jaipuria, as you all also know, has promoted Varun Beverages, which is one of the largest Pepsi bottler in the world. As you're aware, Yum operates brands such as KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell, and has presence globally with more than 50,000 restaurants in 150 countries. Since beginning of its relationship with Yum in 1997, Devyani has continued to expand its operations with both KFC and Pizza Hut franchisees as well. And as of June of this year, operates 284 KFC stores and more than 300 Pizza Hut stores in India. Company also has the sole franchisee for KFC and Pizza Hut in Nepal and for KFC in Nigeria. Devyani is among the largest operator of chain quick service restaurants in India. As of in June this year, company has a total of 735 stores, comprising 645 core brand stores, which are KFC, Pizza Hut, and Costa Coffee, 39 stores internationally, and 51 stores under other businesses, including its own brands such as Mango and Food Street. Coming to the specific details of the IPO itself, the issue will open on Wednesday, 4th August and close on Friday, 6th August, with the anchor book closing on 3rd. The issue is for up to 17% of the equity capital of the company, with fresh issue of up to 440 crores and an offer for sale of 15.5 crore shares, of which around 9 crore shares are being offered by RJ Corp, the promoter selling shareholder, and around 6.5 crore shares are being offered by Temasek. The price span for the issue is 86 to 90 per share, which translates to an estimated issue size of 1776 to 1838 crores. We're expecting that the listing would happen by 16th of August. We look forward to your support in making this transaction a resounding success. Without much ado, I request Mr. Gandhi to make an opening statement, after which Mr. Dawar will take you through a short presentation followed by Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, for the introduction to Devyani International's initial public offering and its issues key highlights. I would now request the company team to take us through the organization's journey, struggles, victories, subsequently take the attendees through the company's investor presentation to cover its business and financial details, as well as touch upon its key strategies going forward. Over to the company team, Mr. Gandhi.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I hope you and your families are all doing well and staying safe. I would like to begin by providing you a brief snapshot of our journey since inception. As you are aware, Yum Brands is an offshoot of PepsiCo USA through the demerger in 1992. Yum is the largest QSR company in the world with more than 50,000 outlets. Our journey with Yum Brands started in 1997 with the opening of the first Pizza Hut store at MI Road, Jaipur. Later on, we opened first KFC in 2004, and in financial year 2005, we started relationship with Costa in India by opening first store in Connaught Place. As on June 30th, 2021, we operated 284 KFC stores, 317 Pizza Hut stores, and 44 Costa stores. Temasek invested in our company in the financial year 2015, and that was for a little over 15% equity stake. As part of further consolidation in India, we acquired 73 company-owned KFC outlets from Yum India, spread over the last couple of years. The 25 years old relationship with Yum got further strengthened in the year 2021 by their subscribing to strategic equity stake in the company to the extent of 4.76%. DIN is a multi-dimensional QSR player, and our technical marketing and operational expertise has enabled us to establish ourselves as a comprehensive player in the QSR industry. Our co-brands consisting of KFC, Pizza Hut, and Costa contributes to about 95% of our total business. Despite the pandemic, we have continued to expand our store network and have opened 109 stores across 4 brand businesses. In the 6 months ended 31st March 2021, during the quarter ended 30th June 2021, we added further 43 stores, taking the total number to 735 operating stores. Increased deliveries, urbanization, higher demand for eating out, and an increased exposure to different food types have played a significant role in the growth of the business, mainly driven by the rise in number of transactions, especially in the delivery sales in 2020 due to COVID-19. Over the years, we have been consistently increasing the scale of business both organically as well as inorganically. While achieving this growth, we have strong focus on quality, safety, customer experience, digital adoption, delivery, and our people and culture. DIL is also conscious of good corporate governance, with more than 50% of its board members consisting of independent directors. And here I would like also to add that 100% of our audit committee members are out of independent directors. We are also conscious about its corporate social responsibility, including ESG. Let me conclude by saying the QSR channel has been rapidly growing in popularity in India, owing to factors such as rise in literacy, exposure to media, increase in disposable income, easier and greater availability and proliferation of internet. Economic recovery and greater investments from Western fast food chains are expected to drive growth. In 2020, the QSR channel made the largest contribution to the food service industry with a sales share of 34.1%. Rapid urbanization and the rising number of commercial spaces for consumers to have a quick bite amid their work or shopping schedules played an important role in the growth of QSR. Busier lifestyles and less time for eating habits have made QSR channels more relevant. In 2020, QSRs contributed more than half the number of transactions and the number of outlets among all food service channels. I would now like to hand over to my colleagues to take you through the company's presentation. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity to address you. Over to you, Manish.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gandhi. Rajiv, can we share the presentation? Lalita, are you able to see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to cover some of the key important slides which are relevant for today, rather than going through the entire presentation, so that we are able to give you more time for your questions. So with that, I will kind of, Mr. Gandhi has introduced the group, the company, so therefore I will straight away get into the business. As mentioned earlier, Devyani is one of the largest players of QSR in the country. We have a portfolio of well-recognized, strong global brands, as well as the homegrown brands. 95% of the business for Devyani comes out of the three core brands, which is KFC, Pizza Hut, and Costa Coffee. 85% of this comes from India, and the remainder 10% comes from Nepal and Nigeria. As at 31st March of last year, we had a total store count of 692. We've continued to maintain the same store opening momentum as we've displayed in the previous few quarters. And therefore, in quarter one, we've opened another 43 stores, despite the fact that quarter one was again under lockdowns and shutdowns because of the pandemic wave 2. As a result of our quarter one openings, we are currently at 735 stores across our entire portfolio and all the geographies put together. KFC is our largest brand, contributing to almost 65% of the total business that we have. This is how our overall consumer offering looks like. So we are from fried chicken, pizzas, burgers to coffee and dosa. We followed a cluster-based expansion approach as a strategy for the last many years. As a result of that, 47% of our store count as at 31st of March comes out of the four main clusters in India, which is NCR, which is Delhi Capital Region, Bangalore, Calcutta, and Hyderabad. The top 10 cities in the country account for almost 54% of the store count. North is our biggest region, contributing to the highest number of stores, and the highest contribution from sales perspective comes from South. I will skip some of these slides. I think I would like to spend some time on this slide to take you through in terms of the key initiatives that we've taken over the last almost about 3 to 3.5 years. And how these initiatives have impacted our brand contribution margins. So as you would know, Pizza Hut traditionally has been a strong heritage dine-in portfolio brand. We started restructuring this brand about 3 years back into a delivery-focused brand. We've managed to complete this restructuring over the last year, which incidentally was also a pandemic year. So as a result of the entire restructuring, 90% of our sales are coming from delivery sales, and 90% of the stores are focused on delivery. On a similar basis, on KFC brand, which is our largest brand, we used to open large format stores. We started working on a smaller format store with the help of Yum, who's our parent organization, with the whole objective that KFC as a brand should also be ready for delivery. And at the same time, we wanted KFC to be ready for tier 2 and tier 3 towns expansion. So we started working on a smaller format store. All of our expansion on both of these brands over the last 4 to 5 quarters have happened on a smaller format store. So the advantage of smaller format store, as you would know, would basically mean a lower capex, smaller opex, because you need lesser number of employees. The smaller space demands a smaller rental, and therefore our payback periods have gone much more attractive compared to what it used to be earlier. Similarly, you would notice that this has a positive impact on the margins, for the very simple reason that we've not lost any of our ADS numbers when we've migrated to the smaller format store openings and expansion. And that's the reason we are in a good position today to be able to go and expand these smaller format stores going forward as well. We divested our TWG tea business, which is a tea lounge business, very good brand, great potential, but was a very early stage brand, would have taken a number of years for us to mature this brand. At the same time, it was not fitting in well with the overall portfolio, so we got out of this. We've rationalized our portfolio with respect to non-performing airports and stores. We had acquired about 73 stores from Yum with respect to KFC brand. We've managed to integrate all of these stores into the DIL system again in the last year. And as a result of this integration, we've seen that all of these stores, as far as the store profitability is concerned, the profitability has jumped by almost about 7 to 8 percentage points. So as a result of the above initiatives, KFC brand contribution margins from FY20 at 16% has moved to 23% in Q4. Pizza Hut has moved from 11% to 15%. Costa Coffee has moved from 21% to 30% again in Q4. We are always focused around improving our store level economics, or the unit level economics as we call it, through all the levers which are available by way of revenue expansion and cost efficiencies. So yet another initiative that we took, apart from the initiatives that I mentioned on the previous slide, was with respect to our frontline store staff. So we've managed to convert our employment terms for the store staff from a fixed employment model to a flexible work arrangement. This has benefited us again from a bottom line perspective. It has benefited employees also because they're able to go and work elsewhere during lean hours. And plus, it gives us the advantage from the entire employee pool or a potential employee pool which is available for us, so that we are able to attract the student community also. They can come and work with us during peak hours, which are the evening hours, as well as the weekend days. So yet another potential change that we've seen last year again as a result of pandemic and as a result of conscious effort that we've made on the Pizza Hut brand. Our online orders and delivery sales have moved from 50% in FY20 to 70% in FY21. If I were to dissect this by brands, for FY21, Pizza Hut would sit at about 90% plus, and KFC would sit at about 60% plus. Although we have our own app and own delivery infrastructure, but bulk of our online sales and delivery sales come from Zomato and Swiggy, who are the two large food aggregator platforms in the country. For both of these platforms, we are one of their largest business partners, and therefore we believe that we enjoy favorable business terms, given our size and depth of the relationship compared to what they have with other smaller partners. We've always been focused on safety and hygiene. We are always subject to Yum audits, and we've strengthened these practices even further during the last year, which was a pandemic year. In summary, quick snapshot on financials. KFC is a 1,000 crore brand today. Pizza Hut is a 400 crore brand today, basis the run rates of Q4. We've consistently delivered on the gross margins. We've started to see the brand contribution margins also improve now as a result of the initiatives that I've spoken to you in the previous few slides. If you were to look at on the bottom right-hand side corner, the brand contribution margin for the full year was 14%. Out of this, Q4 sits at close to 20%. As you would know, last year was a pandemic year, and therefore Q1 and Q2 for most of the businesses was loss-making quarter. It was a matter of survival during the lockdowns and shutdowns that we had to face because of COVID-19 situation. That's the reason we believe that Q3 and Q4 margins are closer to the near normal margins, although the times are still not normal. That's the reason we are talking about Q3 and Q4 margins also. Our margin improvement story continues into EBITDA also. So post-Ind AS EBITDA for Q4 was 27% versus FY21 full year number at 20%. On a pre-Ind AS basis, our Q4 number was 15% versus 7.5% for the full year. We are a positive cash flow company along with the negative working capital and the fact that we are going in for the IPO now. We believe that going forward, we will be largely a debt-free company. And at the same time, given the normalized situation, once the pandemic starts to recede, we believe that we'll be able to fund our entire expansion of stores going forward from the internal accruals without causing any additional stress on the balance sheet, either by way of a borrowing or additional dilution of equity post the IPO that we are contemplating. We typically follow a 10 plus 10 year period as far as our store licenses and the brand licenses are concerned. We pay a royalty of approximately 6% across the entire portfolio, and we spend about 5 to 6% on advertising and marketing for our brands. Coming to our core brands, KFC, as I said, is the biggest brand for us, contributes to almost 65% of the total sales. We are the largest franchise partner for KFC in the country. We've doubled our store count for KFC stores in the last 2 years by moving from 134 stores to 264 stores in FY21. This has happened by way of the acquisition that I talked about earlier on in the slide. And at the same time, we've been opening our stores on an organic basis also. So we've opened 26 stores in Q3, followed by another 24 stores in Q4. And even in Q1, we've opened 20 stores in India and a total KFC store count of 22. The map on the left-hand side reflects our presence and territories that we have on KFC brand. So we have the rights for entire South India, except Tamil Nadu. We have the rights for East India. Apart from that, we have the rights for 4 big UP cities, which includes Lucknow, which is the capital city, Agra, Ghaziabad, and Noida. We have the rights for Delhi capital region. Apart from these areas, we have some of the smaller states like Rajasthan, J&K, Himachal, Sikkim, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. What is interesting about this presence and the rights that we have, that if you were to look at South India and East India, almost 90% plus population in these 2 regions of the country is non-vegetarian population. And if you were to look at North India and West India, the non-vegetarian population is only about 50%. Again, if you go to dive a little deeper, out of the non-vegetarian consumption in the country, the most loved medium of consumption is chicken. And chicken contributes to almost about 70 to 80% of the total non-vegetarian consumption. So the rest of the mediums like seafood or pork or beef or lamb is a small portion as far as the consumption for non-vegetarians in the country is concerned. If you were to look at the KFC brand, it's largely a chicken brand. Our fried chicken contributes to almost 60% of the total brand size. And if you go to add chicken out of burgers and the rice items, the total chicken contribution in KFC portfolio is almost 80%. So that is the reason we believe that KFC is very uniquely positioned. It has no competition in the market, unlike some of the other players for whom the burger is a very strong category. Whereas as far as KFC is concerned, it is the chicken contribution which makes this brand highly unique. In summary, as I said earlier, KFC is a 1,000 crore brand with a very consistent performance on gross margins, improving brand contribution margins. I've talked about earlier that we've doubled our store count in the last 2 years. Just to kind of take you through the graphs here, we've doubled the store count, and even during the pandemic year, despite the store count doubling, we've held on to our ADS numbers very strongly. In FY19, our ADS per store on 134 store base was 114,000 per store per day, whereas in Q4, we were at 118,000 on a store count of 264. So all of our expansion that I've talked about earlier on a smaller format store is playing up very well, is resonating well with the consumers. And therefore, on a per square foot basis, the throughputs today from KFC brand are much more healthier and much more efficient now. Even on same store sales growth, we are more or less in line with the industry. And therefore, we believe that we are following the right strategy and the consumers are loving what we are doing on this brand. Coming to our second core brand, which is Pizza Hut. As I said, we've managed to transition Pizza Hut from a dine-in portfolio to a delivery portfolio. Pizza Hut as a brand is very complementary to KFC because KFC, as I said earlier, is about 80% non-vegetarian brand, whereas Pizza Hut is 70% plus vegetarian brand. If you to look at the chart on the left-hand side, which denotes our rights as far as Pizza Hut brand is concerned, So we have the delivery rights for Pizza Hut outlets for the entire country except Tamil Nadu. And we have the dine-in rights for North India and East India. As I said, that over a period of time, we've restructured our portfolio and we've moved from dine-in stores to delivery stores. Therefore, our focus going forward is to expand on delivery stores, and we have the rights for the entire country except Tamil Nadu. We are bullish on this brand for the reasons that I've explained to you earlier. And as a result of that, we've started expanding the brand once again. So we opened 15 stores in Q3, followed by 24 stores in Q4. And even in Q1, we've added 20 new stores into our portfolio. To summarize, Pizza Hut is a 400 crore brand with very strong performance on gross margins in line with the industry. And at the same time, improving brand contribution margins, even on Pizza Hut also, despite the entire restructuring and the smaller format stores expansion, we've managed to hold on to our ADS numbers again very strongly. And therefore, the story that I talked about on KFC with respect to much more efficient throughput on a per square foot basis resonates very well for Pizza Hut as well. Even on same-store sales growth basis, we are again in line with the industry here after we've done the restructuring, and the brand is doing well with the consumers. Our third core brand is Costa Coffee, relatively a smaller brand versus KFC and Pizza Hut. We currently operate about 44 stores. As you know, Costa Coffee had seen international management change, and therefore we are renegotiating the agreements with them. We've already signed the heads of terms. We are currently in the process of closing the long-form agreement. And once we're able to do that, we can talk about the plans on Costa more in detail with all of you. But needless to add that once we close the agreement, we will be expanding Costa Coffee brand portfolio also in the country. Given our past performance on Costa, again, the gross margins and brand contribution margins are very healthy and sits absolutely on top of our rest of the portfolio. As far as our international business is concerned, roughly about 10%. As we grow India business, it will drop down further. The margins are in line with the rest of the portfolio of the company. We operate about 37 stores out of our international operations, out of which 24 sit out of Nigeria and 13 stores come out of Nepal. Our fourth homegrown brand is Vaango, which caters to South Indian cuisine. And as you know, South Indian cuisine is popular across the entire country. And therefore, we will be looking at a calibrated expansion for Vaango brand also. We've seen that Vaango brand works very well wherever the footfalls are extremely high. And it is still not a destination brand. And therefore, there will be very little capital deployment that will go behind Vaango brand. So with that, I would request Virat to come in and talk about our CSR initiatives. And post that, we will unshare the presentation. And we can open the floor for the questions that all of you may have. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening. Due to shortage of time, I'll make it very, very quick and simple in this. Current workforce is about 30% of our workforce are women working in the store. We are looking at taking it to about 50% in the long term in the business of ours across all our verticals. Very interestingly, we've got differently equally able people operating in our stores. These are the people who cannot hear and cannot speak. They manage our KFC stores and Costa stores, some of our stores in Bengal and in Delhi. We're looking at taking it across the other verticals, which is Pizza Hut and Vaango also. And in the long term, we're looking at making it about 5% of our total workforce to be the differently equally able people there. On the COVID side, our maximum employees are vaccinated, taken care of by the organization. People who have suffered from COVID, again, their medical expenses, everything is taken care of by the organization. And that since we are operating about 80 to 90% of our stores currently now, we are very conscious about the safety of our employees there and ensure that they are all taken care of as far as the medical is concerned for them on that. Over to you, Manish, this year.
So with that, we will unshare the presentation. And Lalit, over to you for questions that may have lined up.
Thank you for taking us through the presentation. We hope the attendees have captured enough and more understanding on Devyani's business model, financials, its execution capabilities across QSR channels and other diversification opportunities at hand. Before the floor is open for the participants to ask their questions, I would like to reiterate to type your name and organization details in the Q&A chat box for the moderator to take note and address your query. Note, in the interest of time, we will be restricting to 10 to 15 questions only, and repetitive questions will be skipped. Sir, we had close to about 61 stores of our core brands closing down in FY 2021 due to COVID, due to other said reasons. Firstly, who takes the decision to shut these stores? Is it the brand owner or is it you?
So the decision with respect to shutting the stores is entirely with Devyani, and we take that decision jointly as a team. The reason why in the past the store shutdowns were high is twofold. One, as I said, that we were transitioning the Pizza Hut brand from a dine-in portfolio to a delivery model, and therefore in the process we had to shut a lot of large format dine-in stores which were not working for us. Second, as I said, that we got out of the airport concessions, and therefore whatever stores with respect to our brands were part of these airport concessions, they were also shut down. Going forward, we will be looking at opportunities at the airport for brands on its own rather than the airport concessions. So therefore, that could still be there. But as a concession, we are not going to be looking at that business.
So delivery sales moved from 51% in FY20 to 70% in FY2021. Is this going to be a focus area, or are we going to look at a balance between delivery sales and in-store?
Look, most of the QSR market is drifting towards delivery. And if you look at pizza market in particular, even before the pandemic, most of the pizza market kind of operates through delivery today. So the way we look at it, while let's say the pandemic recedes and the normalized situation come back, the dining percentage will definitely go up. But Pizza Hut, we believe that the delivery would remain a larger percentage, more closer to the numbers that we have, whereas KFC probably would settle at a much lower number compared to what we are seeing today. Post the pandemic normalized conditions.
Okay. Sir, on the downsizing of your stores, could you give more clarity on how the new format is going to be like?
So Lalit, if you have to look at what we did on Pizza Hut traditionally, when it was a dine-in format, we used to open the stores anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. The new format comes in about 500 to 1,000 square feet model. Similarly, on KFC, while we've not shut the stores, the KFC stores were impacted because of the airport closures and so on and so forth. But the newer format for KFC that we've been kind of working with for the last 4 to 5 quarters have been on a smaller format, which is about 1,500 to 1,800 square feet versus 2,500 to 3,500 square feet in the original format. So as a result of the smaller formats, the capex is lower, the opex is lower because your rentals are lower, and at the same time, the number of employees who are required are less. The utilities costs are lower, air conditioning, electricity, so on and so forth. The maintenance costs are lower. So therefore, the payback period looks much more attractive. As I said earlier, that we've managed to do the entire portfolio shift as well as the smaller format transition without losing on any store sales. And that's the reason it is giving us improvement in margins.
So Lalit, on these, when we say smaller size stores, they are seating in the stores. They have about 30 to 40 seats in the Pizza Hut for people for doing a takeaway or eating there. And in KFC, we're looking at about 60 seats in that. So as and when the business keeps improving on dine-in and takeaway, there should not be any capacity issue in that also.
Okay, so as you stated about payback, how much time does it take for, be it a KFC, Pizza Hut, or Costa Coffee store to break even? What is their average sales per day?
So as I said earlier on in my presentation, the average sales for a KFC store is 118,000 as per Q4 numbers. The average sale per store per day for Pizza Hut is about 42,000 in Q4. So we take anywhere between, depending on what the location is, because every store would have its individual performance. The break-even time would be anywhere, let's say if it is a new city or a new town, it takes about 3 to 6 months. And if it is an existing city, we normally reach the store maturity between 6 months to 12 months. At times, we've seen that going up to 15 months also. So the payback period on a KFC store would be around 3 years. The payback period for Pizza Hut store would be around 4 years, and a payback period for a Vaango store would be between 2 to 2.5 years.
So then what about the capex expenses per store, on an average?
The blended capex for us across all the brand portfolios that we have, which is KFC, Pizza Hut, Costa, and Vaango put together, would be anywhere around 1.1 crore, depending on the store size and the location of the property.
Okay, sir. There's a question which asks that, why are we so North region focused and why do we have such a weak presence in the Western India market?
It's got to do with the territorial rights that we have. So let's say if you were to look at, we do not have the rights for KFC for the Western markets, except for Mumbai Airport. And KFC is a much bigger brand compared to Pizza Hut. That's the reason the Western region is kind of lower for us. But needless to add, the way we look at it, the potential that we have in our territories is much bigger than the other parts of the country, because as I said, the population demographics are very different. If you were to look at West, Gujarat is largely a vegetarian state. So that is the reason why the contribution of West is lower. The contribution of sales is highest in South because KFC is concentrated there. And number of stores is high in North because traditionally the Pizza Hut stores were present in North, and now we are kind of expanding in West and South also once we've got the delivery rights for Pizza Hut stores.
So given that the Indian market is currently operating with 2 Yum franchisees, is there any issue with respect to a spillover or a cross-section of areas?
The territories are monitored by Yum very closely, and therefore the way we define the territories, we are not allowed to go and open stores in the other franchisees' territory, and they are not allowed to open store in our territory. So it's very, very, very closely monitored. So far, we've not had any issues at all in the past.
So could you throw some light on your SSG and trends across your core brands?
Sure. Let's say if you were to look at the SSG in the recent quarters, while we've kind of presented that in our presentation, but please take note that because of the uncertain pandemic situation over the last 2 years, the comps may not be looking correct. So let's say it could be a previous quarter of the same year where there could be some issue, or the previous year quarter there could be some issues. But more or less, if you were to look at from SSG perspective, as far as KFC is concerned, we are in line with the industry. At times, we are ahead of the industry also. Similarly, on Pizza Hut, while we are kind of lagging behind initially, but after we've restructured the brand, we are absolutely in line with the industry.
So on the Pizza Hut point of view, considering that we were first to enter in the market and, we are currently at sub 300 stores, what is the, plan for growth for Pizza Hut going forward?
See, Lalit, for us, we demonstrated in the last 3 quarters the store opening here, and we will follow the same trajectory for our growth in the near future also for the next 2 to 3 years in that.
Okay, so there's one, question which is resounding amongst quite a few questions coming in, is which you can briefly explain in multiple points, is what is going to be your strategy to profitability? When are you going to go green?
So, Lalit, the way we look at it, I mean, obviously our financials are not reflective of the true situation because of the pandemic being there for the last few quarters. But once, let's say, the normalized situation is back and we are able to recover our sales fully, and at the same time, we will be largely a debt-free company, and therefore there will not be any interest cost, we believe we will be in green.
So what is the cost of interest to the company right now? On a month-on-month, year-on-year basis?
So the current cost of borrowing on a weighted average basis?
About 35 crores.
Yeah. No, weighted cost of borrowing. So under 7%.
Yeah, it's under 7%.
Under 7%. Yeah. So our cost of borrowing is under 7% as of now.
Okay, sir. And during the pandemic period, has the company taken any moratorium on its existing borrowings?
Lalit, if you were to look at the current level of debt, out of that, about 3.5% of the debt is where we would have taken the moratorium. So otherwise, let's say most of the debt we've repaid where, let's say, we had taken some moratorium.
Sir, how is your international business doing, and what is the kind of growth opportunities you see out there for all your core brands?
So on the international side, Nigeria and Nepal are self-sufficient, so there will not be any funding that will be going from India to support them. They are profitable ventures there, and from the same profit what they generate, we will keep opening new stores over there in these markets.
Sir, could you concur on this point, stating that at a store level we are profitable?
Absolutely. On the international side, yes, and the margins are very much similar to that happens in India over here.
Okay, so what is our dependency on food delivery aggregators like Swiggy and Zomato? Do you see it viable for yourself to grow a delivery logistics platform for yourself?
We are not looking at it right now. We already have our own delivery platforms. We have our delivery infrastructure. We have our own app, but it is not part of our aggressive strategy to grow our own delivery infrastructure. In fact, our number one priority and the most important priority is to roll out the stores. Once we gain a good mass, we could evaluate and we could relook at the strategy again. So we've kept our options open as of now.
So historically, what has our core brand store growth been like, and is it going to continue in the same manner?
So if you see last 3 to 4 quarters, as Virag mentioned, we've been opening about 40 to 50 stores across our entire brand portfolio. And we expect that we'll be able to maintain the same momentum going forward.
Sir, pre-Ind AS EBITDA margins was 3.8 versus 7 to 8% now. The gentleman who's asked this question wants to understand this point.
Sure. The reason for that is, as I explained, there were multiple initiatives that we've taken on the business with respect to smaller format stores, with respect to shutting some of the corporate drags that we have from the airport business, as well as the TWG Tea Lounge business. We had done the acquisition from Yum with respect to 73 stores that we are in the process of integrating, and we've managed to integrate that fully into our system. At the same time, we've managed to kind of shift our employees from fixed term employment to flexible work arrangements. So all of this has contributed towards the margin improvement that you are seeing. So these are some of the factors that have contributed to the margin improvement.
So that at a brand and a company level, how has the adoption of technology taken play, and what is the kind of operational benefits you've got into that?
Lalit, if you were to look at, last year, 70% of the sales came from delivery. And as you know, delivery is all through technology and online ordering and so on and so forth. But I would say that we have to do a lot of catch up on deep analytics and AI piece and all, which we will be working on in future. So we are absolutely in line as far as the basic technology is concerned, but we have to move towards the future piece.
So India as a market, from a core brand perspective, what are the kind of food preferences you're seeing arising nowadays? Regionally, what kind of innovations are happening with the brand end?
See, both our brands, there are a lot of innovation that's happened on the food side. On the KFC side, we have launched rice in a meal, rice with gravy and the chicken popcorn in that. We got grilled chicken, which is like very similar to a tandoori chicken in that. We just launched veg burgers in the system, veg and non-veg burgers at the entry level point in that. On the Pizza Hut side, again, all the innovations around the Indian toppings that we have in that. We just launched appetizers, which are paneer based in that. We have garlic bread, which are actually very much similar to the Indian palate as such. So a lot of innovation that happened around the Indian taste bud in that.
Okay, so given that while we've clubbed majority of the questions coming in, most of them have been answered. If there are some unanswered pieces, we will definitely respond back to the said individual. Thank you everyone for showing interest in knowing more about the company, its leadership, and its future potential. I would now like to call upon Mr. Abhijit Tare from Motilal Oswal Investment Advisors to make the closing speech before we end today's webinar. Over to you, Abhijit.
Thank you so much, Lalit. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Devyani International and the book running field managers to this IPO, I thank you the members of the investment fraternity, for attending this significant milestone event of the company. India is a nation that loves and lives its food. Our little joys, festivities, mega celebration, and so much so that even heartbreaks find their ways into our souls through food. We are pretty sure that you must have had celebrated your friends' get-togethers and office parties at KFC and Pizza Hut stores, have had quick meals at the Vango while on the go, and must have caught up an amazing coffee at Costa. Uh, be it Leh or be it Andamans, Devyani's presence through its brand is always around, almost to satiate your appetite in a familiar environment and the taste that you have always loved. Devyani's IPO now allows us an opportunity to make our love for the food incorporate into our investment portfolio as well. Just to highlight again the key details of the IPO for your appetite, the price band for the IPO is rupees 86 to rupees 90 per equity share of the face value of 1 rupee each. The issue opens for the subscription on August 4, the coming Wednesday, and closes on August 6, the next Friday. The issue is a combination of fresh issue of 440 crores and an offer for sale of up to 15.5 approximate crore shares. The issue size at the top end of the price band would be about INR 1,830 crore. The anchor book bidding is scheduled for August 3, 2021, the coming Tuesday, and the details of the anchor bidders shall be disseminated through the stock exchange by the same evening. The anchor book portion expected to be around 824 crores. Under the leadership of Mr. Ravi Jaipuria, with his significant experience and proven success in the F&B space, and through RJ Corp, which is a diversified conglomerate with the portfolio into F&B segment, Devyani enjoys the benefit of his in-depth experience and oversight for its growth plans and the business conduct. We believe the company has now established itself firmly in the industry landscape and is very well positioned to undertake its listing debut, an important milestone for its stellar journey of more than 2 decades now. On behalf of company and my fellow book runner, we look forward to your support and participation in this IPO. We thank you once again for your time. Sincerely hope that you are able to communicate this story across to your clients and be a part of this Devyani International's limited listing debut and its journey going forward. Here is also wishing you stay safe and healthy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tare. Esteemed audience, we've now come to the end of the webinar. We look forward to your participation and support on making this initial public offering a great success. Wishing you all a great day and keep safe.
Thank you.